Hello YouTube, welcome back to another 4Color Films video. Today we're going to be talking about the Disneyland Marvel Avengers Campus experience, where my family and I went a couple weeks back to go check it out. And so when we heard that they were going to be building it, we got pretty excited about it because my family is fairly obviously enthused about Marvel properties, the movies, the MCU, the series, you name it. We are all in when it comes to that type of work, and the movies have been really great for us as an experience going forward. So we were excited to see that they were going to be doing their own Marvel land basically inside of Disneyland, and we were hoping it would be just like the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which we really love because as the experience goes, I'll do another video about that another day, but that experience is pretty amazing. It is very well designed, very well thought out. The merchandising is great, and the experience inside is bar none. I think one of the best experiences I've ever had at a theme park, and certainly the most, I think, the most thorough and also consistent as it goes. So when Marvel Land was due to open up, we were pretty excited to see what we could experience there, and some of the things we saw looked pretty interesting. So we wanted to go check it out pretty close to when the opening was. I think it opened up on the weekend, first weekend of May. So we decided we would go the next week afterwards to kind of beat the rush and get up, go on maybe a quieter day, like Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. And we were a little bit wrong. It was kind of busy. Like on the Monday we were there was quite a long lineup to get in. I mean, granted we were still at 25% capacity supposedly, so it was still fairly limited. And obviously it was fairly a very popular land to go to, so there was a lot of interest and a lot of people showed up there as well too. So we were one of those many people were there, and so I think we paid a little bit of the price for that. So the one good thing is that because they instituted the virtual ticketing system to get on the new Spider-Man ride, if you got lucky enough to get a virtual boarding pass, then that would at least guarantee you entry into the Avengers Campus. You'd be able to ride the ride and then stick around and do whatever you want to do afterwards, assuming you got that. So we actually missed the first time trying to get it at 7 a.m. And so pretty disappointed by that. But at the 12 o'clock time, we actually did manage to get a ticket to the web Spider-Man ride. And so we got to go in during that day. But the lineups to get into the Avengers Campus at that time, if you just want to go in and visit the actual, the stores or the restaurants or whatever the experience is, there was a 4 to 5 hour wait just to get into the land if you did not have a ticket to the ride. So there's no way I was going to spend half my day just waiting in line in the hot sun. So thank goodness we got the actual ticket to get into there. So first impressions of the land is quite well designed. One thing that's very different than Galaxy's Edge to Star Wars Land is that because it's obviously set in our time, they're more just like, standard kind of, the headquarters building is kind of just like, a very modern headquarters looking building. And some care has been taken to some of the other buildings, which I'll go into a little bit, but overall it just looks like kind of like some cool modern buildings on that side. And so it's not as easy to shift out of realities from going to Star Wars Land to going to Avengers Campus. It's just more like, okay, that's cool, there's some Marvel stuff there. But they have nice touches on there that are all around. There's some little hidden secrets that are around the land, which are really kind of fun and engaging to get into. For example, the Hank Pym's the Pym Test Lab, which is basically the actual eating restaurant, and then the bar as well too is really fun and themed towards everything shrinking and getting large. So I'll show you some photos of the gigantic pretzels or the super small sandwiches or the giant sized drinks you can get. And the food actually was quite good, I gotta say. Like there's a lot of YouTubers reviewed it and some people didn't like it, but I actually thought it was pretty consistently good across the board from what we had. And then the nice thing is that there's little touches everywhere of things that would appeal to someone who is into this type of thing. So if you walk around the falafel stand, you can get a drink, and it's held in this gigantic Thanos gauntlet, so you can walk around holding a Coke in a giant Thanos gauntlet, which is super cool. It's about $30, I think, for that, but at the same time, it's kind of awesome. And just turn the lights off here, and you can see how it lights up. So it lights up, it pulses on all of the soul stone lights. So kind of fun. Some of the other things they have as well in the actual test lab are some things you can just buy straight out, which are some things I think they're meant to be put into drinks. But if you, again, also just have a little bit of a pin particles you want to have, then it's a nice little souvenir you can take with you. And if you press the button, actually it lights up, which again I'll turn off here as on. And they come in two different colors, of course. Though the pin particle is only red, so I'm not sure why there's a blue one, but there is a blue one as well too. And they also actually have these little throwing items as well too, which also do light up as well, which is kind of nice. So they're just, they're just plastic, so nothing too expensive or extravagant. So, it would have been nice to have like a more authentic, proper replica, but for something to drop in your drink, it needs to be plastic, it needs to be like watertight. So there you have it. That's what it does. It's kind of nice on that side. There were some nice glasses too that look like almost like beakers, and they had the PIM logo on them, which I wanted to get one, but you have to buy a drink, and I didn't feel like buying a drink that day to get it, so maybe next time. Next thing I'll talk about is the actual Spider-Man ride, which is a pretty fun ride. We went on it a couple of times during our trip there, and it's a nice simple motion ride where you're just in these little buggies and you go around and try and zap the spider creatures using the standard sort of Spider-Man actions, which is to shoot, you go forward, and to draw an item back. Once you use a web, you can just use your hand to do that. And so it's pretty easy action. It's fun for all ages. Nothing too scary on that side, just a lot of fun. And of course, Tom Holland is there. And there's a lot of Easter eggs as well too, that some of the supporting cast of the actual WEB or the Web Lab, or is like Harley from the Iron Man 3 movies, or Squirrel Girl as well too, or I think actually like the Moon Girl from the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur series is in there as well too, so it's kind of cool. There's some extensions of the MCU and the Marvel comics actually inside the universe, which is kind of also kind of fun to have as little Easter eggs to go through. And then when you get to the ride, you can actually buy an extra device that's supposed to help you have even more fun on the actual ride. So the idea here is that there's a simple gauntlet you can use to put on your hand. Rush it down. And then it's got a couple of modes. So the idea here is that there's a switch, and that's just for doing the ride. So it doesn't really do anything. You just are able to shoot and zap the creatures. So in web mode, it does a standard shooting, but if you bring it into this interaction mode, it actually does that. It's kind of fun for kids, right? So very fun item to bring. And then there's actually two different versions. So there's like two Iron Man versions and there's two Spider-Man versions. So there's this Spider-Man version of the actual toy. Also an Iron Man version, which allows you to make the sound effects. It's a little bit bulky, as you can guess. It's kind of definitely more of a toy than a prop. And I will say it's I think it's like $29 for the power pack version, and then there's I think another $29 for the actual weapon part, which is interchangeable. So if you want to just buy one power pack for yourself, you can actually just buy the extra pieces, Iron Man or Rescue. There's a blue one as well, and then the Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen version as well too. You can buy that separately. So it doesn't have to be so expensive if you want to just get both versions or all four. I will say I thought this would give you an advantage in the game, because they tell you that in the game you can use the Iron Man version or the actual Spider-Man one and get a bigger power up in the game to cause things to explode and do more damage, and supposedly that helps your score. But in our testing, I made it not very good at it, but my wife didn't have these and she got a better score than me every time. So that either tells me I'm doing something wrong, or this thing doesn't make much of a difference in that side if the score is any difference to what you think you want to do within the game. But there you go. So maybe it's more for fun. We did have a lot of fun wearing them though, and having them, running around with these devices in your hand was a lot of fun to make the experience even more part of being part of the Avengers Campus, which I thought was really kind of a fun deal for me. Okay. The other thing I was excited to pick up was these things, which are available inside the Spider-Man store. So they're supposed to be basically like web shooter props, and so they're actually quite nicely designed. You can see they're all metal, and they come with this nice stand. They are quite heavy. They open up just by pressing this clutch, and then you put it on. And close it down, and then you have a nice web shooter where you can actually just. So, very much Spider-Man style. Do your thing. Kind of fun. Right. I will say they are not meant for anybody's got a fair sized wrist. I have a fairly small wrist, so it doesn't bother me that much, but this is actually quite a lot of padding. So the only thing I would say is that if you have a large wrist, this is probably not going to fit you unless you take out the inner padding, because there's a lot of padding. And I think that's actually a bit of a design problem, is that they should, if they want to sell a, whatever, an $80 item to fans, you should probably make it so that it's got customizable inserts so that people with bigger wrists, is actually really tight, can actually get it on there without having too much trouble, because you can see it creates quite a gap. There's quite a lot of padding you can see all around it, so that would probably look way better if it was tighter on your wrist, if there was less padding there. So I understand if I did it for comfort and maybe for smaller wristed people or kids, I guess is what's probably aimed at. But at the same time, it would be nice to have a way to just replace the padding, because you can't. You'd have to remove it, which I guess if you're gonna make your own, I guess you could just tear it out. But at the same time, that seems like a bit of a waste, though. But other than that, they look really good, and they're very heavy duty. And so if you're into cosplaying Spider-Man or something like that, I guess it'd be a good addition to your costume. Okay, and the other part I want to talk about is there are some nice experiences around the land, which are pretty immersive on that side. You probably heard a lot about the Spider-Man experience where he actually goes sailing above. So I won't give too much away, but it's pretty nice effect to see him swinging over top of your heads. And there's actually before, when we were there wasn't actually a way to tell when that was going to happen. So you kind of wait around and get lucky. And there's no idea when it was going to happen, but now on the actual map, they tell you when it's going to happen, so you can kind of schedule your timing to show up at that point and then be able to see the actual experience, because there's a ton of these little experiences all over the land. So if you're, in the Doctor Strange area, he actually comes out and does a whole little kind of magic show on his own, which is kind of part of the universe, as well as kind of having a fun, a couple of jokes and some experience on that side. There's a pretty good Black Widow fight, which actually has got some variation to it as well too, because either Black Panther or Captain America may show up during that battle with Taskmaster, so it's actually pretty cool, and it's on the second level. A pro tip, if you are in the land and you want a good view, go have a drink at the PM Test Lab or a bite to eat and sit in the outdoor patio, because you get a really good view directly across at the actual play-by-play event that happens there, and so it's kind of fun. The Dora Milaje have a training event. Loki shows up multiple times, and depending on which mode he's in, he may look like the variant from the actual series itself, or he may look like his Royal Highness, the Prince of Asgard, depending on which mode he's coming out at. So it's kind of cool. And Iron Man is there, of course, and you see them walking around all the time doing meet and greets. And I look forward to the time where you can actually take pictures with them, because right now you kind of have to stand in front of them. So it's a little bit off-putting. Thor showed up as well too. So they did a nice job of kind of keeping the experience kind of fun and engaging. And especially for kids, it's a blast to see them interact with these characters and ask them questions and take pictures with them. It's really a lot of fun on that side for kids, especially of a younger age on that side. And then, and of course, Guardians Ride is still there, which is a great retooling of the Tower of Terror ride. A great drop ride, but now it's been brought into the actual collector sphere, and there's a lot of props inside the lower level, and some great new sequences they filmed exclusively with the entire cast that's in the actual ride itself now, which is really fun, and a great drop ride. And there's actually a little small eatery nearby with some cool looking desserts that you can get there. They're kind of there for to be themed along Guardians as well too. Merchandising is very good, I will say. They have a lot of really cool stuff that I wanted to buy. And we ended up buying the spider bot, which I'll probably show you another time. But But at the same time, I would say um, a lot of care went into the merchandising and Galaxy's Edge for Star Wars, and a lot of things that are very, very smartly marketed towards people like us who have a little bit of money, but also like a really deep nostalgia for things, obscure items inside the Star Wars universe. And in the case of the Marvel Avengers Campus, there wasn't that many things I thought that were really like super niche or super like deep cuts that you would want to have. Like the Thanos glove is pretty cool. The PM items are pretty fun, and that's pretty on the mark. And the Spider-Man shooters I thought were really on the mark as well too. But there wasn't a lot more than that for me as a super fan that I really wanted to have. And like, oh, that's smart. That's a deep cut. I gotta have that and bring it home with me. So I'm hoping they will have more to come out on that side. Like even the actual droid. Like so, the web robot you can get as the enemy is fantastic, and it's customizable and that's great. But I mean, it's really aimed at people who were on the ride, and so they're hoping you have an association enough that you want to play with that droid or that robot to go along with the experience. Whereas in Galaxy's Edge, you build an R2 unit, which is, or a BB-8 unit, which is kind of perfectly on par with what you experience you would want to create and bring home with you as a part of the Star Wars experience. And so to me, that trumps just building a little spider robot by like 100%. But maybe that's my opinion, maybe not everybody's, but that was my first thoughts. And then same thing with a lot of the items inside of Galaxy's Edge, like they're building a lightsaber or buying a legacy lightsaber or buying like clothes and tunics and Jedi robes. It's all there for the taking, and to me that was really smart merchandising on that side. And so I'm surprised they didn't go a little bit harder with some of those things that collectors would want to have. And the beauty of it being there is that you can only get it there, so that just drives more people there. So to me, smart marketing is building items that really appeal to that that super collector, or to that mentality of like, I've got to have it because that's smart and I would really want to bring that home with me, or you can't get that anywhere else. I would definitely want to bring it home with me, and that type of thing. So we'll see what happens as the market matures, and we'll see what they get out of it. But all in all, I thought it was a good experience. I definitely will go back again, and hopefully the lines will be a little bit less severe, which I actually hear they're already less severe already. So that's a good sign. Is it as good as Galaxy's Edge for me as a geek? Not really, but it is a good experience. It's a solid experience. And depending on if you have kids or not, it could be really fun to have them around and just have them experience this Avengers Campus and make that real for them. I think that's more, the suspension of disbelief is higher for kids. So I think it's a bit easier to swallow for them, as opposed to being an adult and, having nostalgia. It's nice inside Avengers Campus. It's really well done in Galaxy's Edge, and that's a big difference. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did, and throw me a like and subscribe if you haven't. And thank you again for watching. Take care.